Okay, you beautiful friends, welcome back to the back of the semi-truck, and you can tell by the thumbnail, you can tell by the title, we are jumping into Adventure Time, Learning the Lore, Part 5. And with this one, we are diving into the story of Marceline. Her story, nobody else's. Everyone else in this is going to be supporting characters. Marceline is the focus of our little lore dump this time. So, with that said, hopefully YouTube and their copyright system doesn't do us like they did us in the last one, where we went over Marceline and the Ice King's little story together. Granted, no, I don't personally feel like that video did a great job of hitting all the beats that it was supposed to for a story as emotional as Marceline and the Ice King was supposed to be. But nonetheless, it did give just enough to keep me satisfied, where I'm like, well, if I watch a different video with it, it's just going to feel like it's rehashing everything I already know. And so I just decided, move on, get a single story just for Marceline. So that's what I did. I found a single story. It is from a channel called Amber, exclamation point is at the end of that, I believe. I believe that's the channel. In fact, if I'm being honest, I can't fully remember. It might be the same person who did the last video as well. So, if it is, here's a redemption arc for them. If it isn't, then, you know, that maybe I'm just running my mouth for the sake of running my mouth. So, what I'm going to do here is shut myself up. We're going to jump into this. It's the story of Marceline, start to finish, and as per usual, I will have a link down in the description below for anyone and everyone to click on down there, check out the original video without all my pausing, all my, commentary, all that stuff. Because if you don't know what a commentary video is, then you probably shouldn't click on one that has commentary in the title. So, yeah, you're not going to enjoy this very well if you just want to watch that video. So that's what we're doing here. We're watching the story of Marceline. I've said it 15 umpteen times, so I'm shutting up. We're going to hit the play button. I'll also have the links in the pinned comment as well. 3, 2, 1, and play.
In this video, I'm going to be explaining the complete timeline of Marceline the Vampire Queen, Adventure Time's half demon, half human, from start to end. A lot of people don't understand her story or how her powers work, so hopefully this video helps. Marceline's story starts over 1,000 years ago and is one of the most interesting in Adventure Time. Anyways, to start, we have to go back to the beginning. Marceline is the child of Hunson Abadir, the powerful demon who rules over the Nightosphere.
Pause. I've seen thumbnails of, if I'm correct, he said Hudson Atmosphere. I can't get words out of my mouth. Hudson Atmosphere. I think that's how he said it. Holy crap, I can't believe on the second try I pronounced that. I think I seen a thumbnail with him in it saying, who is he? And I'm like, that's a 5-minute video. Maybe I want to do that one. But now I'm getting a little bit of lore with him. So now I know who he is, kinda, sort of. All I know is he's the leader or ruler of this nightmarish dimension here. So, cool. We're starting there. Oh, okay. 1,000 years ago, because of course Marceline's story starts like 1,000 years ago. Either way, let's continue. I just felt like I needed to say that I was familiar with the name Hudson because I saw a thumbnail with him in it. So, yeah, that's how I'm familiar with him. Hopefully I got that out. I felt like I slurred my words like I'm drunk or something, which I'm not. All I drink all day is energy drinks. Well, never mind. That explains it. Let's continue and play.
Mention of suffering and confusion, very reminiscent of hell, as it was inspired by the artwork of Hieronymus Bosch, specifically the piece, The Garden of Earthly Delights. Marceline's mother is a human named Elise, who...
Pause. Hold up. Before we even talk about Marceline's mom, because this guy is going rapid fire, figured I'd stop for a second and say, hey, this dude's giving us like a history lesson as well, talking about how it's inspired by such and such. I'm like, now I got to go back, rewatch that part of the video just so I can get the name of that artist, so I can then go check out what, you know, they've done other than just, you know, portraits of hell. Because, you know, the dimension of suffering and whatnot like that they're talking about for what Hudson leads and is ruler of, it was inspired by that painting from that guy. That's kind of awesome. I kind of want to go find more paintings of that guy now. Either way, let's rapid fire talk about Marceline's mom. Because I know this is going to end like that. So, yeah, I'm going to try to let this video here play more than just 15-20 seconds, so I promise y'all. I mean, because we got 13 minutes and 47 seconds total on this video. So if I don't shut up, we're going to be here all day. So let's continue now.
Who we do not know as much about. She was only present for the beginning of Marceline's life due to the fact that she passed away when Marceline was very young. All we know about her is that she was the only caretaker of Marceline during the first 5 years of her life. Being the daughter of one of the most powerful demons in Adventure Time, Marceline was born with the ability to suck souls, obtaining the power that those souls contained. But due to being part human, she is not immortal. She could be hurt relatively easily, and other than her ability to suck souls, she is only human. Marceline was born 4 years before the Great Mushroom War, the nuclear war which killed the majority of humans, and over a longer period of time, most of the survivors. Marceline and her mother were lucky to survive the war, but as a result of nuclear fallout, Marceline's mother was very sick.
Pause. Okay. So, now, I don't know why it's clicking in my head now, but essentially, Marceline is literally like the daughter of the embodiment of Satan / Lucifer / whoever you want to say is ruler of hell. So pretty much, you know, the head demon of demons and some random human woman. So Marceline is half demon, half human, and then somehow becomes a vampire. I was going to say half demon, half human, half vampire, but then I was like, you could be fully vampire, but still be half demon and half human. In my head, that makes sense. It makes sense to me. So, yeah. I can't add no more. I just felt like, let's talk about that. But, at the same time, I know now Marceline's mom is about to die, which sucks because, of course, everyone's now getting sick from nuclear fallout. So, let me shut up. It's time for us to continue and play. And I messed that up, but it's okay because if cartoons teach us anything, second chances are okay. Let's try again and play.
And by the time Marceline was 5, she was beginning to die. She had hidden her illness from Marceline as to not worry her, while she had Marcy draw a map which led to a secret clubhouse, which in reality was a nuclear fallout shelter that she herself would not be able to make it to. In an event where the group was attacked by wolves, Marceline used her powers to save her mother, and mistook the fear in her mother's eyes as directed at her rather than at the wolves. The result of this was Marceline believing that her mother abandoned her when she finally reached the shelter, when in reality she did for Marceline to survive, because she knew that she would not be able to make it there herself, and didn't want Marceline to see her die. She left a voice memo for Marceline, but she would not find it for much longer, as the phone was much higher off the ground than Marceline could reach. The shelter Marceline reached was already barren, the door no longer functioning, and the occupants being long gone, already being reduced to skeletons by the time Marceline arrived. Marceline would stay here for a while, but due to the lack
Balls. Okay, so just judging by the amount of video that they're using in this, I've got a feeling this is going to get blocked. So I'm probably going to upload it and then wait for this stuff to actually come through saying, hey, this is blocked by Cartoon Network. Because I'm sitting here watching Marceline grow up as a little girl, and she's playing with her, guitar that she's made, which makes me want to hear whatever song she's singing. And then I don't know how, but she then ends up making a guitar out of what looks like an axe, where I've got it paused now. Hopefully there's not like some millisecond delay where I paused and did all the editing and stuff, but that's a whole nother matter. But I see all this video that he's playing, and I'm like, I don't want YouTube's stupid automated blocking system to sense that there's something here and then blocks it on me. Because it was crazy when I looked into the last one that the stupid automated thing, it let me upload it and told me there was nothing wrong with it. Then I let it daggone go public, and then 2 hours later, oh, we're blocking you. Okay, whatever, let's do the stupid thing. Because Cartoon Network's over the years has gotten really good about copyright and kind of releasing the claim. Granted, you can't monetize it still, which I'm fine with. But at the same time, they've gotten really good about letting you keep the video up. So, cool beans on them. This time around, I'm just going to, hopefully I remember to do this, let it do its checks and all that stuff, and then wait 24 hours, and then let it go public. So if you're seeing this, more than likely, I've had this video uploaded into YouTube's system for a little while. So, here's hoping everything works out. Either way, though, I so want to see. That was my long, convoluted way of saying I want to see these songs that Marceline is playing, which means now I got to go find the episodes and kind of check it out and find out. I could probably find it on a compilation clip, but I really don't want a compilation. I just want the episode itself. Either way, let's continue. And
of food and water, she would eventually have to go out to wander the world in a period of time which we know very little about. At some point when Marceline was about 7 years old, she was wandering through an abandoned city when she is discovered by Simon, a man who is being kept alive by the Ice Crown, a powerful artifact which grants the wearer the powers of ice and snow while eating away at their sanity. To comfort Marceline, Simon gives her a teddy bear named Hambo, who she will keep throughout the years. Right now, Hambo is just a teddy bear, but he will become very important to the story much later. Throughout this part of her life, Simon keeps Marceline safe, but due to the increase of danger, Simon repeatedly has to use the crown so he could defend her from the monsters. As he does this, he loses his mind at an increasing rate and eventually realizes that he too has to abandon her, fearing what is going to happen when his mind is fully lost. When Simon leaves, he first contacts Hunson Abadir, Marceline's father, who will end up taking care of Marceline until her late teens. Although Hunson Abadir is very powerful and can do a good job protecting her, Marceline eventually cuts him off, as he is cold and evil, which goes against her moral compass. But at this point, Marceline is capable enough to fend for herself and can go independent.
Pause. Okay, so let me slow down long enough to kind of take that in and be like, okay, so she did end up having a slight relationship with her dad, Hudson, and it turns out that, of course, if you're the leader of what is essentially hell, you're going to be a cold and distant person slash demon slash whatever the frick Hudson is. So you're going to be pretty cold and distant, as they said. So essentially, Marcy's kind of like, hey, you're not a father figure. You kind of suck. So I'm done with you. I'm booking it out of here because I can take care of my darn self. And then she just left. So I guess that's all we know about Hudson. I might watch the little Hudson video on my own just to kind of get familiar with him. And well, I had a thought in my head just then, but never mind that. But either way, though, yeah, I don't feel like we're going to see Hudson no more for some reason. I want to know more about him, but at the same time, it's like, I think this is pretty much it. Hudson's Hudson. So, either way, let's continue. Blade.
Marceline was about 18 years old, vampires began to surface anew, cutting down on the already small population of remaining humans who had survived the war. Marceline became a vampire hunter, but due to her demonic powers, she was still alone, as people considered her a monster. Eventually, Marceline would befriend the leader of a tribe named Two Bread Tom, as she played her bass for them, and eventually gained their trust. This is the time when Marceline gains her powers by sucking the souls of powerful vampires, gaining flight, invisibility, healing, and shapeshifting. The remaining humans were fixing a boat to sail away, but before they could complete this, they were attacked by the last army of vampires, led by the Vampire King, the strongest of them all. Marceline
Pause. Okay. So I already know Marceline's probably going to kill the Vampire King, but holy crap, that was a lot. What stuck out to me the most was Two Bread Tom. Was that the name of the human? or one human? Or was that the name of, like, a band of humans? And she was, because they said that she played bass for them in the band. So was that the name of the band, Two Bread Tom? Or was it just one human name, Two Bread Tom? Which, I'm just so confused. I know I'm focusing on the wrong things, but it is what it is. This is what you get with me. I focus on random stuff. But yeah, Marceline, oh my gosh. Now she's a vampire and become a vampire hunter. So essentially, if we took the Marvel Universe and said she was the equivalent of such and such, we would be claiming that in the Adventure Time universe, Marceline is the equivalent of Blade in the Marvel Universe. So she, well, minus the demon powers, because Blade doesn't have demon powers. He's just, you know, he's a daywalker. So, yeah. But Marceline has the demon powers. She has, well, humans don't have powers, but she has the half side of human, which is her humanity. You know, that's her moral compass. So she's got the powers of a demon, but the morality of a human. That's, oh my gosh, that's a video all in itself right there. Ideas for anybody right there who knows how to do video essays and make it come off in a comprehensive unit, whatever I'm trying to say. Y'all, I've driven 500 plus miles today, so this is what y'all get when I do those kind of things. If I had a day where I was just relaxing and goofing off and maybe had a half day's worth of work, you'd get a more competent Billy, I guess is a good way of putting it. But yeah, Marceline, vampire hunter. Let's listen to this guy talk about her killing the Vampire King.
Marceline successfully defeated the remaining vampires, but while fighting the Vampire King, she was bitten. She slayed him, but in the process, became the last vampire in U. At this point, Marceline has all of her powers.
Pause. Wait. Okay, so I was wrong. She wasn't a vampire yet. It was when she got bit by the Vampire King that she became a vampire, which is pretty freaking awesome. Because now she has the powers of a vampire. She has the powers of a demon. She has the morality of a human, like I just said a second ago. So, cool beans. I don't know who this little guy is on her couch, but hey, maybe they'll tell us, maybe they won't. Let's continue and play.
And is now immortal due to becoming a vampire. Once the humans were gone, Marceline was left to roam the lands for hundreds of years. We don't know much about what she did during these years, but eventually, she would meet Princess Bubblegum, who showed up at one of her shows. The two eventually became romantically involved, wasting time and hanging out, but eventually Bubblegum's stress from managing the growing candy kingdom caused her to push Marceline away, which resulted in a strain in their relationship. Their dynamic was very toxic, and it eventually ended on a trip to the Glass Kingdom when the Glass people asked Bubblegum to help them stop a dragon, and Marceline decided to come with her. Marceline didn't take the situation as seriously, and eventually Bubblegum lashed out at her for this and told her to go home. But instead, Marceline sang a breakup song to her, which defeated the dragon and ended their relationship. The bad blood between them would last for a very long time after this, and eventually Marceline would end up dating a misogynistic magician named Ash.
Pause. Okay, so I'll pause it right there when it's talking about some misogynistic magician named Ash. Which, I don't know why that description makes me want to know more about that person, but, whatever. Let's focus on what I was wanting to pause for. There's two things, I believe, actually, but now I don't forgot the second one, so we'll just run my mouth until I remember it, and if I don't, then we'll just continue. But nonetheless, though, she isn't a daywalker. I now remember when I saw her hand go into the sunlight. I do remember now that when I do catch clips and, I've seen various things about Adventure Time even before I started learning the lore, that Marceline can't be in the sunlight. So even though she's half human, she still doesn't have that kind of power that Blade in the Marvel Universe, if you're not familiar with him, she doesn't have that power to be able to just be like in the daylight walking around, which adds a dynamic to her that is interesting to me, because that means she has to then sleep during the day. In all reality, she probably doesn't even have to sleep. She probably could just stay awake and not be affected. But she can literally, it's pretty much in a nutshell, it's like someone who works night shift. Marceline has to sleep during the day in order that she can then go out during the nighttime hours. So that's interesting in itself, because then if you go to like My Little Pony with Luna, who has to be awake during the nighttime hours, nighttime can be very isolating, very lonely, it can play mind games with you and get your mind in a frame that it doesn't need to be in. So when she's up at night, everyone else is off during the day, and it just makes me feel like we got to keep in mind that this wasn't just like a couple years stint either. This was hundreds of years of being isolated to the nighttime hours, and that sucks. I don't know any other way to say that. So yeah, and other than that, the only other thing I think I was going to talk about real fast was the whole them two and the breakup song and this and that. But I seen most of that when we covered the lore from all the Distant Land specials, because I think that was part 2 of learning the lore, was the end of the series for Adventure Time, and then it also covered the 4 Distant Land specials. So we covered that, and yes, I know eventually they get back together with the same concept of going and doing the same thing that led up to their breakup. So either way, let's continue and see if they talk about this Ash fella. Blake.
The two moved in together, living in the treehouse that would eventually belong to Finn and Jake. Eventually, Marceline dumped him though, because he ended up selling Hambo to Maja the Sky Witch, who wanted it for its sentimental properties, which granted it a lot of power in many magic rituals. Eventually, Marceline meets Finn and Jake as they are squatting in her old house, and after messing with them for a bit, they become friends, and she decides to give the treehouse to them. Marceline writes a song with Finn about her relationship with her dad, who she hasn't seen in hundreds of years. Finn tries to help this by summoning Huns and Abadir before Marceline tells him not to. After being summoned, Abadir begins sucking the souls out of everyone in Oo, and Marceline
Pause. Oh my gosh. So we're seeing Hudson again. I didn't think we would, but we're seeing Hudson again. And I knew as soon as she said that she wrote a song with Finn, I was like, in my head, I was thinking, Finn's about to help her get a relationship with her dad. He's going to mess everything up that much worse. And then it's like, then I saw him literally summoning a demon. This is a kid's show, mind y'all. To think that this show was never meant to be what it is. You go back and see interviews. I seen this on part of the Learning the Lore stuff, and I think it was part 3. Maybe it was even the first part. This show was never meant to have this much lore to it. It was never meant to have this much story. For them to have the first episode we had with Marceline was her messing with Finn and Jake, kicking them out of the treehouse just to mess with them. That was the first episode I believe we saw her in. And then her story goes, there was never any concept of this in the beginning of this show. They literally have a vampire, the last vampire in Ooh, being half a demon, half a daggone human, with a story that goes all the way back to the Mushroom War, all the way to where they are in the show right now. So it is freaking crazy to think about that kind of stuff. Hopefully what I said makes sense. I know what I started with was saying, when Finn heard about her dad, he was going to mess it up more, and now I'm all the way back to where I am. So I'm going to shut up. We're going to hit play, and I'm going to let these moments play out at least 45 seconds to a minute, hopefully. I know I say that a lot, but we still got like 7 minutes of this video left, and I've recorded for 25 already, maybe even 26. So let's continue. Let's play.
Finn gives up on stopping him. But before Marceline leaves, Finn plays the recording of the song, and for a moment, Marceline and her father reconcile, and it seems that he understands what he did. This moment is cut short, however, when Finn literally cuts him and banishes him back to the Nightosphere. Sometime after this,
Balls. What? So essentially, Finn killed Marceline's dad, sending him back to the whatever sphere. That is crazy. And I'm glad I paused where I paused, because I'm seeing Ash here. And I'm glad I'm able to see his face again, because his haircut. Okay. When I first saw him, I thought at first he had a haircut like I did one time in my life. But his hair seems to be 3 strands that are connected back here in the back. So he has 2 strands of hair coming down here with 1 coming up here. I don't normally admit something as silly as this, but I did at one point have not a mohawk, not anything related to mohawks or anything. I was a weirdo who walked around kind of like what Ash has here, but with only a patch of hair right here. Small little patch of hair that fit right here out of my hat. It wasn't just a small patch either. It was enough to kind of be able to bring down to the tip of my nose. I would have that patch of hair out of my hat, and if I was to take my hat off, the rest of my head would be, as you know, cut as far down as what I have here. But if I take my hat off, I would just have that one little patch of hair right here coming down to the front of my head. I thought at first that's what Ash had. I'm so glad he didn't. Granted, I wish I never would have had that style. It was a weird style. I just wanted to be different. But yeah, that was my early 20s. That lasted probably about 2 to 3 weeks. I cut that off. Either way, let's continue. Now that we know that Finn just essentially killed Marceline's dad after they were bonding for a second. Oh my gosh, Finn.
we find out that Ash never really got over the breakup, eventually putting Marceline in a magic coma and tricking Finn into entering her brain and retrieving the memory of their breakup. Throughout the journey, Finn finds a lot about Marceline's past and causes Marceline to believe that Ash and her were still together. Eventually, Finn convinces Marceline that he was lying, and she breaks up with him again. After this emotional...
Good for her. And especially good for her for kicking him between the legs like that. I saw that. And Hudson, how the frick are you back? I paused on the screen that it's got Hudson carrying Finn. Whatever on that part. And I know I said I was going to let it play for like a minute, but there's so many spots that I could pause. But yeah, that is some kind of other freaking messed up what Ash did. Holy crap. to literally put her in a magical coma for Finn to go in to extract the memory to give it to Ash for him to just boop, pop. But thankfully Finn seemed like he was smart enough to keep one extra memory to the side to give to Marceline, to where she remembers how much of a, I don't know the right word that I want to say. Just use all y'all's imagination for how I feel about Ash and that action. Either way, let's continue. I can't say those things because I'm personally family friendly. Just because some of the stuff we watch around here sometimes is not, I am. So, let's continue.
Event, Marceline decides that she will try to reconnect with her father, but it turns out that he just wants her to become the new ruler of the Nightosphere. He tricks her by giving her an amulet which turns her evil, causing her to temporarily embrace the position and take over the Nightosphere in a new form. Finn and Jake aren't aware of this, but they know something is up, so they travel to the Nightosphere to figure out what the problem is. But during the trip, they receive amnesia and have to piece together what's happening through videos on Jake's phone. Eventually, they find out what Hudson did, and after journeying through the Nightosphere for multiple weeks, they save Marceline by taking the amulet off. Before leaving her father once again, Marceline tells him that she is mad because he doesn't care for what she wants, and that she just wants him to understand that she is her own person.
Pause. My gosh. Marceline's story is all kinds of freaking crazy. We now essentially watch her become the, yet now I know what they're saying is Nightosphere, but we essentially watch her become the leader of hell just then, become emotionless just like, Hudson. And Hudson, see, oh my gosh, I wonder if that episode makes it where when he takes the amulet and give it to her, when, the amulet then makes her cold and distant. I wonder if the episode then makes it where, since he's no longer the leader of this hellscape / Nightosphere, does that mean he's cold and, uncaring and not loving? Did Hudson in that episode then become a little more caring in that, I should go and look for that episode just so I could find out. That would be interesting. Or, by all means, let me know in the comments. Either way, now we're getting back to their relationship and seeing where Princess Bubblegum and Marceline stand. Let's continue because 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14... We got about 5 minutes left. Let's play.
Eventually, Princess Bubblegum and Marceline are reunited, although only for a bit, through Finn and Jake. The group have their items stolen by the Door Lord, a being who opens magic doors through space and steals sentimental items from people. He locks himself behind a magic door, which only opens for a song that tells the truth. Marceline almost opens the door, singing a song about her feelings, singing about her animosity to Bubblegum, but how she secretly wants them to make up. Before completing the song, however, she gets embarrassed and stops right before the door opens. When the group is about to break up, Finn sings a song about friendship, which manages to open the door, loosening the tension between Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, and the group can retrieve their items. This is when it's revealed that Princess Bubblegum's item is the shirt that Marceline gave her when they started dating, and that Marceline didn't even have an item, and was just there to hang out.
Pause. Yeah, that sounds like a really great episode. Holy crap. I think any singing episode would be a really good episode. Oh, my gosh. And this show, y'all, I'm telling y'all, there should not be this much story. Granted, the story is going rapid fire. I get it. But there should not be this much story to a character that is not even a main character. Granted, yes, if I was to do just Finn's, solo story by himself, that would probably be about a 5 to 6 part learning the lore just for his character arc. But for Marceline being a side character, her story should not be this freaking long. But it's a good freaking story to go from being who she was, being stranded and desolate, to finding people along the way in order to help her. Just the amount of humanity that is within her is a good story. Let's play. Ah, dang. Let's have a second chance, a second time in this video. And play.
With them. The Door Lord's main goal was to make people forgive each other, meaning in a way he succeeded. There's still bad blood between them, but at this point, Princess Bubblegum and Marceline are on speaking terms again. The next time Marceline and Princess Bubblegum are together is when Marceline tracks down the buyer of Hambo and asks Princess Bubblegum for help retrieving him, to which she agrees. During the journey, we still see their tension when Marceline acts immaturely and Princess Bubblegum doesn't take her seriously enough. But eventually, they reach the house, and after splitting up, Princess Bubblegum gets Hambo back from Maja by trading the shirt that Marceline gave her for it, as all Maja wants is an item with sentimental energy. This is the event that takes away most of the tension between them, and at this point, they are considered friends again. In a series of events where Simon temporarily regains his sanity, Marceline and Simon reconnect.
Pause. Before we jump into Simon, I do need to stop for a second. Yes, I know, I gotta stop stopping so much. It's a commentary video, sorry. It is what it is. So, Hambo, whatever the frick we're calling it, the stuffed animal. It came back. Obvious reasons why she would be upset that somebody stole it, because it has been with her for almost 1,000 years. So, yeah. And then Bubblegum then gives the shirt, which held sentimental value, such sentimental value to her, to get something for Marceline that held that much more. Gosh, dang this show. Let's play. Let's get into the emotional stuff for Simon now. Play.
For the first time in 1,000 years, and the two use Hambo's sentimental energy to open a portal leading to the past, where Simon can talk to Betty, his fiancée who abandoned him 1,000 years ago, when Betty jumps through the portal, starting a chain of events which culminates in the series finale. Betty is really important to the
Balls. My gosh. I know Betty comes through the portal, but that just threw me off so freaking much when I saw her jump through. Like, what the frick? And then on top of that, they just used Hambo in order to summon Betty there. Oh my gosh. I could see Marceline doing it for Simon, though. Simon, not Ice King. She would do something like that for Simon. So she gave up something important to her for Simon. We're at the tail end of this, though. Let's power through it and find out this last little bit to this story for Marceline, and that'll cover her story, and then I can move on to another person and another person in Adventure Time. I don't see the Adventure Time lore series ending anytime soon. So, let's continue and play.
Story as a whole, but not for this video though. At this point, Marceline has been a vampire for so long that she is tired of it and wants to grow up. Marceline asks Princess Bubblegum to extract her vampiric essence in an attempt to become immortal once again. The procedure works, meaning she loses all of the powers she gained from the vampires, but because of this, the power of the 5 strongest vampires who she absorbed the souls of is released. This revives the Fool, a gnome-like vampire with the ability to float, the Empress, a luxurious vampire who has the power to turn invisible, the Hierophant, an old-timey vampire who abides by classic vampire rules with the power to shapeshift, the Moon, a creepy vampire with the power of healing, and of course the strongest of them all, the Vampire King. The group hunt them down one by one as Marceline regains the powers which she lost from each of them. Eventually, the only one left is the Vampire King, but he too is tired of the cycle and wishes to undergo Princess Bubblegum's procedure. Bubblegum agrees and performs the same procedure on him, siphoning his essence out into a bucket. On a trip to dispose of the essence,
Pause. That is actually a really good story too. Out of everything, then all of a sudden, I can't get words out of my mouth. I think the most interesting part to that is the fact that the Vampire King let them defeat everyone else first to then stop them and say, look, I'm sick of this crap too. Take my vampirish side out of me as well. He literally let them defeat all of them. Because maybe, this is just my headcanon running wild here. Because maybe if they didn't defeat them first, then if he isn't Vampire King anymore and he's not a vampire, then one of them would then take his place. And he doesn't want one of them to take his place because he doesn't think that they'll do a good job. I don't know. But I don't know. But he let them defeat them first before he even told them, like, hey, y'all chill. I don't want this either. I want to be like, Marceline here. I want to live my life, I'm tired of being, thousands of years old at this point. I don't want to be immortal. But that's pretty cool. But, Peppermint Butler, what are you about to do? You spilled his essence. Where did he spill it? Let's find out.
Peppermint Butler accidentally spills it, releasing a powerful being in the form of a cloud, which begins terrorizing Ooh. At this point, Marceline gives up, as she believes the cycle can never truly end. But hiding from the battle, the Ice King shows up, saying that they are two cowards, which motivates Marceline to join the fight. Marceline defeats the last vampire for the second time, but once again, as she defeats it, it bites her neck, causing her to return to being the last vampire in Ooh. After the weeks she spent hunting the 5 vampires, Marceline reconsiders her choice, and now that she's grown a bit, she decides that she's okay with being immortal.
I know I'm pausing again, but oh my gosh, that's another story all in itself. Accepting the fact that you have to do what you have to do to stop the cycle. She doesn't want to be immortal. But in order to stop the cycle from happening to somebody else, for somebody else to become immortal, and then somebody else, and then somebody else, she's learned that, you know what, I'm going to accept this fate and just live with the fact that I could take it all on and just stop the cycle with me. That's a story about generational, generational curses, I think, are a real thing. That's a story right there of breaking that generational curse. That's a story of accepting one's fate. That's a story of letting go and just living. That's a story. That's like a lot of stuff within that little story that they're telling right there. So, I don't know. That's just me. That's what I get from it. So, hopefully we can power through this part. This is Golb. Hopefully I don't pause but maybe once or twice more. And then I could turn in my miles. And because for me, how I get paid, I know y'all don't care. Just fast forward like 30 seconds into it. But after I get done with this, recording this, I'm going to go in and get some supplies for the week, because for me, it's a Monday, and on Mondays, I turn in all my trips that I want to be paid for, so I got to take pictures and send them all, and then shoot them on over to corporate, and then I'll get paid for that, which takes another 30 to 40 minutes just to do all that. It's just, Mondays are crazy for me, but on top of that, I didn't expect to spend this long on a 13-minute video of Marceline. This might be an hour-long video at this point, and I did not expect it. I thought it was going to be an hour long is when I try to look into the lore of the Spider-Verse. Not the movie Spider-Verse, but the comic books. I'm planning on that. I just don't know when I'm going to have time, because that's like a 27-minute video. And y'all see how long I'm going on this. Let's be real, that's going to be a long video too. Either way, I need to shut up. Y'all don't care about what I have to do on Mondays. Let's play and find out what's going to happen with Golb here. and
The summoning of Golb, the multiversal being who embodies chaos, Marceline sees Bubblegum get crushed by a monster, not knowing if she survived. After Marceline destroys the creature in anger, the two have a moment where Marceline talks about her feelings and how she was worried about Bubblegum. They then share a kiss, which either signifies the start of their relationship or that they had recently started dating again, sometime after the events of the Vampire King. We fast forward a few years. Now their relationship is much more established, and in a significantly healthier place than when they were together initially. We see Marceline still harboring some hesitancy, clearly not being used to having a stable relationship. When everything seems fine, PB and Marcy are called back to the Glass Kingdom, where they initially had their
balls. I forgot about that. I forgot that it was this far into the story that they got called back to the Glass Kingdom. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the right words here because I had something in my head. Oh, the stable relationship. Oh, gosh. The trauma of relationships in her. For frick's sake, I'm just realizing it. There's a story there, too. She has such unstable relationships in her life. Every person that she comes in contact with seems to just leave her. The important ones. I'm not talking about like friends like Finn and Jake. The important people in her life have all either gotten killed, gone crazy, or they were just complete douches like Ash. And now she, because we start with Marceline, her and her dad. Oh my gosh. I don't have the words for it. This is why I've said this before about having a script. I want to do a script on stuff like this. I want to get my words together properly and talk about these kind of things in a video format that's a video essay stuff, because the amount of unhealthy relationships that Marceline has in her life is just crazy. Marceline goes from, well, her dad's never there, and when he is there, he doesn't care about her and what she wants. Her mom cared. Her mom did care, legitimately. But she felt like for so many years that her mom then ended up saying, deserting her, when really she died, and that's why she went away. So she felt deserted by that. Then she got deserted by Simon because Simon left her because he knows that if he continues to stay around her and use the crown and try to protect her, that he's just going to go crazy and he might accidentally hurt her, so he deserts her. Then she had many relationships such as Ash, and oh my gosh, and then Bubblegum, here's her, one stable relationship that's actually good. Oh my gosh. Let's continue. Only a minute left, y'all. Can I not pause? We know the answer. I'm going to pause at least one more time. Let's continue and play.
Falling out. Once again, they have been asked to help fight off the dragon. Tensions build up again as they are both reminded of their old conflicts. This peaks when Marceline is asked to sing the song again while Bubblegum is there, but this doesn't work. So she decides to visit the fallout shelter that she hid in as a child, so she could maybe gain inspiration for a new song. While this happens, Princess Bubblegum tries her own solution, and almost succeeds. In the shelter, Marceline finds the message that her mother left, finally realizing that she wasn't abandoned, before returning.
Pause. This is how, oh my gosh, I just mentioned it a second ago that she didn't, because she was talking about being, let me see if I get my words correct here. I mentioned a second ago how Marceline's mom, essentially, Marceline felt like her mom abandoned her. I didn't realize it was like 1,000 years later when she actually realized her mom didn't abandon her. I thought it was just like, hey, 20, 30 years later. But it's 1,000 freaking years later. And that's when she found out. That's freaking crazy. Gosh, y'all. I swear. This is crazy. Her story is probably one of the best in Adventure Time. Holy crap. Let's continue. And blah.
To the Glass Kingdom so she could help Bubblegum. Fighting the dragon, Princess Bubblegum and Marceline end up trapped, believing that they are going to die in a cave. Marceline decides to play one last song to Bubblegum, which ends up taming the dragon and allowing their escape. In the end, Marceline finally comes to terms with her past, knowing that she can't change it, but she can control the future. As of the time of recording, we don't know what happens after this, but we could hope for the best. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more similar content.
So
anyways, that's all for now.
As far as anything that's happened past his point of recording that video, I don't know if anything happened. I don't remember if we tackled anything in, Fiona and Cake. I can't remember if they tackled anything there, but if they did, leave it in the comments because I can't personally remember, but holy crap. I'm wondering, I'm wondering a little bit if Marceline eventually kind of, bit into Bubblegum's neck as well, just to kind of be like, hey, we can live forever, both of us, that way we don't lose each other, but that's just something in my head where I'm thinking that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that happened. That hasn't been told to me in any of these, lore videos yet, but holy crap. There is so much trauma in Marceline's life. And the trauma, there is just various different aspects that could have various different videos made on it. And to think that this show was never meant to be this. This show was meant to just be some goofy little adventure time. Just, it's an 11-minute adventure. Let's just, go to distant lands, as the intro says. We're going to go and have a good time type of thing. But this show, oh my gosh. Marceline is probably the best character so far that I've seen, story-wise. Because I feel for her as a character. I feel like, oh my gosh, there's this little child here who needs protecting and nourishing and upbringing. And this little child has nobody other than people who are essentially going to get sick and die, or is going to abandon her, or she has a demon father who's literally a demon, not just like a descriptor. That's not a descriptor. That's calling her dad a demon father, because he is one. And she just has all these things working against her, but she somehow powers through it all, and then still gets through it, and then somehow ends up becoming a vampire and having to live through, countless nights as being immortal. And 1,000 years later, here, they are. I don't even know. It could be 1,100 years at this point. I don't even know. But holy crap. Definitely one of the best characters in Adventure Time story-wise. I know I'm repeating myself. I'm sorry. I do that. If you're new around here, y'all are going to figure out that, here goes Billy on another tangent. He's talking about something that he literally just repeated 30 seconds ago. But it is what it is, y'all. Yeah, holy crap. I don't quite know where I need to go next. I know I need to go, obviously, to a character study, or maybe another story like this for maybe Ice King, maybe Bubblegum, maybe do the elements. Because I already did the Mushroom War one. This was a good video, though. This was definitely a good video on their part. I took what was essentially a 13, 14 minute long video, and here we are. Holy crap. Either way, since I've been recording for now 50 plus freaking minutes, I didn't expect to do that. I thought, a quick 13, 14 minute long video, this will take about 30 minutes to cover. Let's do it. Play. And yeah, here we are. I'm going to shut up. That's all I can do, because I've got to get in this store. I've got to get the stuff and all my supplies, get it in the fridge, eat me some dinner, all that stuff. Because for me, right now, and if I haven't told y'all by now, this is how I watch things in this truck and do videos with y'all. If you've made it this far, you're seeing what I do. I've got this small little Amazon Fire. It's an old Amazon Fire, but I hit that play button and we just go with it. So I don't do the screen recording. I don't do none of that. And then when my hand gets about right there, that's when I remember to put the screen and start playing again. So some chance you made it this far, you found out that little tidbit right there. So either way, if I keep sitting here talking, I'm going to talk for another 10 minutes for whatever freaking reason. So I'm shutting up and passing it off to y'all. So hit that like, tickle to subscribe. Don't be texting and driving. Love what you watch and watch what you love. And take it away, Mr. Rogers.
I like you just the way you are.